Welcome back to PC Builder. I'm Jason. This month we've got Amazon Prime Day, Newegg Fantastic, and a ton of great sales to get insane value. We're going to go through 4 builds that are incredible deals right now. A $500 PC build for 1080p gaming, a $750 PC build for 1440p gaming, $1,000 build for 240Hz 1440p gaming, and a $1,500 PC build for amazing 4K gaming. I'm also going to throw in some great monitor deals right now. If you get value out of the video, give it a like, it makes a huge difference to the channel. Let's jump into our $500 gaming PC build. And yes, unlike other builds where it's like, oh, we almost hit $500, I hit it. Actually, I came in 10 bucks below it right now, $492.68. And this is with absolutely no discounts. No discounts right now. I'm filming this Sunday before the whole thing starts. So basically on Monday, you'll get Newegg's Fantastic sale, and some of the other sales will start on Tuesday and Wednesday. That's when Prime Day hits. And then throughout the rest of the week, you'll also get some sales. And we will be posting the best deals both on our Twitter and our YouTube community page here. I'll have links to both those down in the video description. And all this is also going to be linked down in the video description. So check those out because I will be updating those with the best prices and the best deals that happen. Let's start off with this build and let's start where else the GPU. That's honestly what's going to drive this because we're looking for really high frame rates at 1080p. Possibly some in terms of 1440p, but for $500, we're mostly focused on 1080p gaming because we're looking at GPUs with 8 gigs of VRAM. They're ultra budget ones, and there are 2 that stand out. The first one is the ASRock Challenger Arc A580 8GB for $150, and it's entirely possible this will get cheaper. This will get cheaper when all the sales kick in the day this video goes live. So check out those links down in the video description to see what it's at right now. The thing about Arc is that Hardware Unboxed just checked like 290 or 300-ish games against this GPU, and they found in the vast majority of titles, 93% ran without an issue, and in a couple of games you had to tweak some things, and yes, there was about 5% of the games that just couldn't get it to run basically. But that's pretty dang good out there. And this is $149 right now. We'll go through the GPU performance in just a moment. You can also look at the A750 if it's not that much more. It's slightly more performative, but honestly, this is the one to get. Your alternative to that, of course, is the RX 6600 as it has been for the last several years, basically. $179 right now. Again, we do expect this GPU to get cheaper, obviously, during Prime Days. This is before any of the deals have started, and this is the price where it's basically sat for the last couple months. So I do expect some fire sales on these as well. The RX 6600, similar performance we'll go over in just a moment. This is actually a really nice one, a 3-fan model, but honestly, just get the cheapest one. It really doesn't matter with these, and really good performance. You don't really have to worry about compatibility. How much performance can you expect to get at 1080p? Because that's the performance level we're looking at right now. This is the TechSpot RX 7600 XT review, which was back in January, so relatively fresh data out there. Although I will say the ARC GPUs continue to improve, and it might be slightly faster right now than the RX 6600. It's actually not even on this chart. The A750 is. I would probably put the 6600 and the ARC A580 pretty much neck and neck at 1080p. 73 average FPS, a 1% low, about 59. And remember, these 12 games are at ultra settings, and these are primarily single player, harder to run titles. If you're gonna play like CS2, Valorant, Fortnite, any of those like lightweight shooter games, you're gonna get tons and tons of FPS at 1080p. All right, let's punch through the rest of the platform. We're just looking for a CPU that's not gonna bottleneck our GPU and cost as little as possible, right? We're staying under 500 bucks. That is the Intel i3-12100F, 2 thumbs up, $87 right now. PCIe Gen 4, and comes with its own included stock cooler that is adequate for this CPU. The good news here is that it has been getting discounted all the way down to like 70 bucks. I expect to see those discounts around Prime Day. And your eventual upgrade path here is you're going to drop in a higher core count CPU like an i5-13600K. Great motherboard for these cheaper i5 and i3 CPUs is the ASRock B660M Pro RS. Actually quite phenomenal motherboard. It will even handle those like i5-13600Ks just fine at stock settings. Obviously it's a B series motherboard, so you're not going to do any overclocking here, but we're going with an i3-1200F. You can't overclock that CPU anyway. It's got a great heat sink on it. It's got a heat shield over one of the M.2s. It's got a really good rear IO for such a cheap motherboard, and $89. How can you beat that? For the RAM, we're going to go with 2x8 gigabytes. DDR4 3200. Now I know in recent testing, there's a couple of new titles, AAA titles, where basically 16 gigs of RAM will lead to occasional micro stutters. That being said, This is a super budget build, so we are going to go with 16 because 16 is going to be fine for the vast majority of titles. And in the future, your upgrade path here, you're just going to buy a second kit and you're going to drop it in and you're going to have 4 of these sticks and you'll get that taken care of when you get another 30 bucks down the line. For the drive, I just went with the Silicon Power A60, great drive. 512 gigabytes. This is an area, if you want to spend another 20 bucks, just like with the RAM, you could go up to a 1 terabyte model if you don't mind spending a little bit more. But if you're just trying to squeeze in all the performance, I think 512 still gets the job done. Look, for the case, there's a lot of really cool budget cases out there. However, this one is on super sale right now. They say it ends in 12 hours. It keeps saying it ends in 12 hours. Every day ends in 12 hours. It's been on sale for a while. And that is the Magnum Gear Neo Air 2. Now, the thing I like about this, it comes with 4 included black fans, which is great. It's not wood, but it's plastic, but it looks like wood. And the reviews on this case are pretty phenomenal in terms of the overall customer satisfaction with it. So I love that about it. And it's $49 right now. That's what we're looking for in a budget case. You will spend $69 and you'll have to get the rebate. If that's an issue, go with something like the BitPhoenix Nova Mesh for like $5 more. And it's ARGB if you want to go that direction instead. For the power supply, we don't need a lot of power for this. We're going with the MSI Mag A550BM, C tier rated on the PSU Cultist list. Has been selling for like $49, but right now it's on for $59. Again, this is another area where I think $10 here, $10 there. We'll see those discounts come on Prime Day. And this is plenty of power for us. Not only that, but the cables themselves look pretty nice in a finished build. They're all black. All told, for $492, you're going to get a 1080p gaming PC that's going to play all the latest titles basically at pretty good details. I would say anywhere from medium to high settings, depending on what you're playing. So if you're looking for CS2, those competitive shooters, you'll get tons and tons of frames, especially at those competitive settings. And then if you're looking to play the latest single player titles, I think you'll do anywhere from medium up to high settings, depending on the title. $492, I expect this to be even cheaper over those Prime Day discounts. Let's throw in some great gaming monitor deals. Right now, the Pixio PX248 Pro, if you're looking for something 1080p for that cheaper build, this is a pretty good place to start. $139, a little bit more than I'd like to pay, although this one often goes on sale, and I suspect it's going to be much closer to $100. Check the links down in the video description for the current pricing. 1080p, 165 hertz, 24 inch. This is kind of everything you need. Let's jump into that $750 gaming PC build, and it's going to give you insane value at 1440p gaming. And honestly, this is without any discounts, $752.82. I'd build this right now, and I wouldn't think twice about not having discounts on it. This is insane value. I can't wait to see what it does on Prime Day. Remember, everything is linked down in the video description. Check out what's going for right now. And we're going to start off where else? The GPU, right? 2 different options here. First is the RX 6750 XT, strongly preferred. 12 gigabyte GPU, insanely performative. We'll go through the performance in just a moment. $279 before the sales even start right now. Totally insane. I would not wait for this thing to go on sale any more than that, because it's an insane value at that price point. Just snag it if you can. Of course, for a lot of you, the 6750 XT has been off the market for quite some time, so you'll be looking for the 7600 XT with 16 gigs of VRAM, which is nice. $299 right now in the US. Again, before any of the deals or anything hit, $299. And quite a bit of 1440p gaming performance and enough VRAM to power your gaming PC. Your NVIDIA Alternative is the RTX 3060 12 gigabyte, $260. It's the cheapest of the 3, but we'll see in performance in just a second. It's hard to ignore the other options out there right now. 12 gigs of VRAM though. If you absolutely have to have an NVIDIA card for some reason at the budget level, this is probably the one that I would pick. Let's quickly punch through performance. How much FPS can you expect at 1440p? This is the TechSpot RX 7600 XT review, so relatively fresh data. We can see right now the RTX 3060 good for just about 60 FPS at 1440p, and these are ultra settings, and these are typically harder to run titles. If you're going to play those single player titles, you can play Valorant, Overwatch 2, CS2, those kinds of things, you're going to get way more FPS. But the 7600 XT is a huge leap up in performance to 67 average FPS and 57 on the 1% lows. You get as much on the 1% lows here as you do for the average FPS for the 3060. So it's a pretty significant jump. But if you're able to find a 6750 XT, look at that. Now this score is for the 6700 XT, 76 average FPS and 64 on the 1% lows, but the 6750 XT is actually 6% faster. Get either one if you can. But the 6750 XT would basically tie the RTX 4060 Ti 16 gigabyte in terms of rasterized performance. That is totally insane because that GPU costs almost twice as much. For the rest of the build, we are looking for a CPU that's not going to bottleneck our 1440p GPU, and we're going to come up off the ultra budget CPUs that we had been using in the $500 build. I want to go with at least something like the Ryzen 5600 or the i5-12400F. Right now, the 5600, $129, and the i5-12400F, $109, except I expect these CPUs to be almost identically priced around Prime Day, and I expect them to hit near that $100 or $110 price point. So you can just really pick whichever one that you feel most comfortable with. Good news is they have the same performance. It's almost like they're identical CPUs, and they both come with included stock coolers. They're absolutely adequate, though we are going to go with an RGB cooler just to add a little bit of kind of bling up the system a little bit. For the AMD systems, you're going to want to pair that with a B550 motherboard, like the Gigabyte B550M DS3H AC. Pretty good motherboard. I like this one quite a bit. There's also the MSI Pro VDH Wi-Fi for like $5 more if you want to go that direction. Or if you want something like with upgraded audio, I really like the ASRock B550M Pro 4 out there. Only available at Newegg though, not really at Amazon. Over on the Intel side, I like the ASRock B660M Pro RS. It's just a phenomenal motherboard. There are some B760 options. I'll also leave link down in the video description. And if I see any great ones on Supercell, I'll put them down as well. For the cooler, we went with the id Cooling SE214XT ARGB. Like I said before, you don't have to change the cooler out. You don't have to go with a third-party one. For $18 though, better thermals, better on the noise, some cool RGB bling. Why not do it? Let's really be proud of our system. Comes in white, comes in black. There's a ton of these coolers out there. You don't have to go with id Cooling. Thermalright makes a ton of them as well. I'll leave maybe a couple linked down in the video description in terms of alternatives out there. But for $18, it's really hard to ignore. For the RAM, we want to go 32 gigabytes of RAM these days. There has been updated testing that shows that there's now a handful of titles, mostly AAA, mostly brand new ones, that on release have a little bit of micro stuttering with only 16 gigs of system RAM out there. So in order to just avoid that altogether, let's just spend the extra money. Let's get 32 gigs RAM. I also got an RGB kit. You can get non-RGB kits for $50 out there. I went with the Silicon Power DDR4 3200 CL16 2x16 gigabyte kit out there. Wanted to bling up the system a little bit. It's not on sale right now, so if I find a better one on sale, I'll leave it linked down in the video description. For the drive, we want to make sure that we get 1 terabyte of storage. 1 terabyte of storage, we don't want to do any ultra budget stuff and switching games, stuff like that. Let's get at least a terabyte. That should keep us going. And the good news, any of the motherboards we're going to get, we can always add in additional storage in the future quite easily. $55 right now for the Silicon Power A60 1 terabyte. I mean, honestly, just get the cheapest one. For the case, you certainly can use the case we use in our $500 build if that looks super cool to you. I decided to go RGB on this one. The good news is if you want to do the same build in white, for instance, the cooler comes in white, this case comes in white. You can go that direction instead, and it comes with 3 included ARGB fans in the BitPhoenix Nova Mesh. This has just got to be one of the most recommended cases for me, at least, because it's super cheap, it's pretty durable, it gives you really everything that you need for like $55. For the power supply, we're looking anywhere from 600 to 650 watts. I just went with the cheapest alternative out there. I expect power supplies to be on fire sale as usual around Prime Day. Usually you get $10, $15, $20 off. So I'll keep my eye out for like a higher tier rated one. This is a C tier rated one, which is fine for a more budget system like this. Thermaltake Tough Power GX2, $59. It's not modular, but it is sleeve, so it looks pretty nice. $59, not bad. All told, $752.82. And again, I expect some significant discounts out there. Although we're already getting a massive discount on that GPU, you're gonna get really high frame rates at 1440p across all titles out there, which is absolutely amazing for this price point. 1440p is where the deals get absolutely insane. And there's a new monitor by ASRock that builds on their phenomenal first generation and takes it further, and honestly just completely destroys any of the 1440p game monitors out there even before these sales begin. $159. This is the PG27QFT2A. This is a flat IPS panel. The previous one I was recommending for about this price was a curved VA panel. This is a phenomenal 180 hertz panel, insane response time, insane motion handling on it. Basically, this is as good as the mid-range 1440p gaming monitors that I've been recommending for some time. for a fraction of the price. Honestly, this is the one to snag if you can. I will say only available right now that I can find at Newegg in the US, so let me give you an alternative. Great alternative continues to be the Acer Nitro XV271U and potentially the XV272U. The only difference between those two, this is the 271U, is that the 272U gets slightly brighter than this one, but this is certainly good. Also 180 hertz refresh rate, also flat IPS. Now, in the past, this monitor's gotten down sometimes like $169 on Prime Day. Amazon loves to put this one on sale, also the XV272U, so check them out down in the video description for some probably insane pricing. Let's jump into our $1,000 PC build for Prime Day, and you're going to get insane 1440p performance as almost 1440p, 240 hertz. I think a lot of titles where you're going to look for that level of FPS, like CS2, like Overwatch 2, those kinds of competitive shooter games. And the good news is here, we're going to jump onto the AM5 platform and we're going to grab all the benefits of AM5, including future upgradability. I finished out at $1,005.64. Again, this is all before any of the Prime Day discounts out there. Check out the links in the video description right now and see where the prices are right now for this stuff. And of course, I'll continue to update these lists with the best deals. Let's start off where else? The GPU. Now you can go one of two options. Most of you are going to find this one, which is the RX 7700 XT 12GB GPU. Somewhere between $360, maybe up to $400, or maybe even cheaper. Right now, this is $369 over at Newegg. Again, this is before all the huge deals go on sale. This is a pretty good model. It's a 3-fan model. We'll look at the performance in just a moment. But if you can find this next GPU, this is the one I would prefer. And of course, that is the XFX Speedster RX 6800. I know for a lot of you out there that are not in the US, you're like, Jason, we haven't seen that GPU in like a year. But in the US, you can still pick this up at Newegg for $339. Again, that's before the sales start. I think they're just going to try and liquidate these things. So snag this if you can. Check the link out, see what the price is right now. In terms of performance, we're just jumping back over to the 7600 XT TechSpot review, 12 game average at 1440p, the same stuff we looked at for our previous ones. In terms of performance for these two GPUs, so similar. The 6800, but has 16 gigabytes of VRAM, and the RX 7700 XT with 12 gigabytes of VRAM. Virtually identical gaming performance. They do trade blows. Different games, the 6800 is favored a little bit, and other games, the 7700 XT is. Now, here's what I will say about this. There's no NVIDIA options. I look, Jason, what's my NVIDIA option out there? Oh, look, the 4060 Ti seems like it might be close in terms of the 16 gigabyte. Yeah, but it's like $450. Now, it is possible they'll sell that GPU for a significant discount out there. I just don't see it happening. NVIDIA just does not have the track record of doing that. But if that does happen, we'll certainly post the deal, and I'll post a link to it down in the video description as well. But right now, that's what you're looking for. 94 average FPS, almost 100 FPS, and these are harder to run single player titles primarily. For the rest of the platform, we're going AM5 all the way. The discounts are going to be there. AMD typically makes it rain, and I think they want to liquidate a lot of these CPUs ahead of the Ryzen 9000 series launch. But if you are wanting to go Ryzen 9000, like a 9600X, this build right here would be perfect for a 9600X, and the next build will be great for a 9700X, so just keep that in mind. We're going to go with the 7600X. You can also get the 7600. There's no difference really between those CPUs. Right now, this one's on super sale for $174. They have been down $170. That's about where I expect to see them during Prime Day sales right now. Insanely performative gaming CPUs. And again, you get in right now for cheap, and then later on, you'll upgrade to a 9800X3D, 1100X3D, whatever you want in the future. Great news for these CPUs is that they only really require a budget tower air cooler. You can go with more cooling if you want. You can go with liquid cooling if you want. I know Thermalright has some new cheap liquid coolers out there as well, but I just went cheap this way. $18.90. The Thermalright Assassin Refined 120 SE ARGB. There's also a white version of this, or you could go with the cooler we used in the last build, the InCooling SE214XC, also perfectly adequate. Great coolers for only $19. For the motherboard, it's probably going to be the case that a lot of these B650 motherboards go on like super sale, but one that is really hard to ignore and continues to be my favorite to recommend is the ASRock B650M Pro RS. There's also a Wi-Fi version. Right now, the Wi-Fi version is only $10 more, so I'd probably pick up the Wi-Fi version, but I wanted to hit that price point instead. So $129, it says sale ends in 11 hours, and then the next day it says sale ends in 11 hours. It never ends right now. There will probably be a lot of these on sale. If you're looking for something more in ATX size, check the next build or check our best Ryzen motherboard guide. We give a lot of those, and we will update the pricing on those as well. This has great VRMs on it. You can put up to a 7800X3D, a 9800X3D in the future. It's got 3 M.2 slots, got pretty good rear panel I/O on it. It's just hard to get away from this one. Some of the cheaper motherboards forego like ARGB headers and things like that. So this is about as cheap as I'd want to go for a Ryzen build. For the drive, I just went with the Silicon Power UD85. This is a updated version basically of the A60. So this is PCIe Gen 4. It's a little bit faster out there. It's only $5 more. You might as well throw it in. Doesn't have a DRAM cache on it. It also uses a host memory buffer process on it. Great drive though for only $60 for 1 terabyte. For the RAM, I'm going to use the kit that I just always use. I don't know why people don't compete with Team Group out there. They're doing such a great job with these kits. Now you can get these in white or you can get them in black. I'm just showing you the white one right now. And this build you can get in white or black as well. Just select a different color if you want. This is the T-Force Delta DDR5 6000 CL30, and this is a 2x16 gigabyte kit. So you get 32 gigabytes total. That's all you need for gaming, or frankly, even a lot of creator workloads out there. $98. Now, these DIMMs do typically go on sale during Prime Day, so keep an eye out for that. For the case, we're gonna go with a brand new case. It's $64. I don't know how Montech does this. I just don't know. This is the atrium style case or kind of fish tank style case, whatever you wanna call it. It's got 2 intake fans and 1 exhaust. It's the Montech XR. Now there's a white version of this, there's a black version of this. Now at the bottom of this is super cool. This is all mesh, so you could actually put intake fans at the bottom here to blow up into your GPU. I think that's phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal on it. It's a great looking case. I don't know what else you want from Montech for $64. This doesn't even need a Prime Day sale. $64 is an insane value. For the power supply, I went with an A-tier rated PSU. That is the Be Quiet Pure Power 12M. I went 750 watts here. You could probably get away with a little bit less, but I just figured $89. I mean, my goodness. And remember, PSUs, that's one of the kind of ticket items out there that you often see bigger sales on during Prime Day and Newegg's fantastic sale. It's fully modular. The cables are nice and sleeved. And if you decide to go with an NVIDIA GPU, it also has the 12-volt high power connector. All told, for $1,005 before any single discount out there, this is going to give you an insane level of performance. And honestly, if you wanted to go bigger on the GPU, you certainly could here. If you wanted to make this a $1,200 build, go for something like a 7800 XT, maybe an RTX 4070 or 7900 GRE, even an RTX 4070 Super out there. If you wanted to throw in a little bit more money, this build would give you phenomenal performance. But as we've got it kitted out right here, it's going to kick some serious butt. Overall, for $1,000, an insanely versatile platform. Put your big boy pants on, because we are going to jump into this $1,500 gaming PC build for Prime Day. This is a 4K gaming beast, absolute beast, or huge frame rates at 1440p, obviously, if that's what you're looking to do. Finished out at $1,508.66. Remember, that's before any discounts. I have already assumed one discount in here. And rather than starting at the GPU, let's start off with the discount that I'm assuming here, which is on the Ryzen 7800X 3D. There's really nothing for Intel that's worth looking at in my opinion. I would go here with the 7800X 3D, which has had its price go from $339 all the way back to about $400. Now, one of two things is going to happen. During Prime Day, we'll see those discounts come right back, or because Ryzen 9000 is launching at the end of the month, maybe AMD's just decided we're going to scuttle all the discounts on this. We want you to buy the 9700X, which is going to be just about as fast in gaming, a little bit more on the multi-threaded side, for about $399. I'm just going to assume that we can get those discounts, but if you also want to just do a Ryzen 9700X build, this is also a good build to do. Let's jump into the GPUs though, because I'm already seeing discounts on GPUs out there, which bodes really, really well, especially at the higher end if you're looking to get something on a super sale. Right now, there's a number of RX 7900 XT 20 gigabyte GPUs out there for about $650. That's about $40 to $50 less than you normally have it. And again, this is before the sales start. That's insane. They all have this fantastic price protection. That just means if the price goes lower at Newegg during the sales period, you'll get that refunded automatically. So you don't really have to worry about it if you buy it on sale. Right now, you can get the base model for $649. You can get the white one for $659. There's also the Sapphire ones on sale, the Sapphire Pulse one, another great model for about the same price. Your NVIDIA alternatives here, yeah, you could go down to the 4070 Super. I would probably just pair that with this 7600 XT or maybe a 9600X when it comes out. Wouldn't spend the extra cash on a 7800X3D. So if you are, I would recommend jumping up to the RTX 4070 Ti Super. This is the model that's the cheapest right now. It's $769. Yeah, it's about $110 more than the 7800 XT. And as we'll see in the performance right now, that may not make sense for a lot of you out there unless you're into ray tracing or something like that. But this is the model I do expect will probably be on sale just because Zotac typically makes it rain in terms of any NVIDIA discounts, although NVIDIA is stingy with the discounts around the sales period where AMD usually just kind of starts slashing prices. In terms of GPU performance, I'm going to show you 1440p and then 4K. This is the TechSpot RTX 4070 Ti Super review. It's linked down in the video description along with the other ones that we've been showing. At 1440p, 12 game average, primarily more single player, harder to run titles at ultra settings. The 4070 Ti Super does quite well with its 16 gigs of VRAM, 120 average FPS, but the 7900 XT in rasterization does do quite a bit better. It's about a 5% advantage right now for it. 127 average FPS, 108 on the 1% lows. At 4K, for whatever reason, the RDNA 3 architecture does better than NVIDIA's Ampere architecture, so we get a slight better scaling with the 7900 XT. It's now 10% faster than the 4070 Ti Super. However, I know a lot of you will say, well, Jason, at 4K, things like DLSS and all that matter, and I think it's slightly better. If that's the case, certainly go for the 4070 Ti Super. In terms of the rest of the build, obviously we're going with the Ryzen 7800X3D, currently fastest gaming CPU on the planet. We hope it gets back to $340 or even cheaper during Prime Day. For the cooler, you could certainly go with an air cooler here. There's a lot of great options by Thermalright out there, but I just wanted to bling up our system a little bit with a Thermalright Frozen Prism AIO 240 millimeter, and comes in white, comes in black. Gamers Nexus tested it. It was one of the higher performance AIOs for $48. How does Thermalright do this? If you're looking for an air cooler alternative out there, I would go with the Phantom Spirit or the Assassin 120 SE instead, both of which have ARGB and both of which are about $33. For the motherboard, I went with the ASRock B650 PG Lightning in this build because this is a build we didn't talk a lot about in our Best Ryzen motherboard video because at the time the pricing was really stupid on it, but ASRock has fixed that. And this is a pretty well-priced motherboard. I like this one quite a bit. If you're looking for one with Wi-Fi and everything, you'll need to add a Wi-Fi card to this. But for $148, you get 3 M.2 slots and you get a ton of rear panel USB connectivity, like a ton of rear panel USB connectivity to it. Really, really hard to ignore on it. The other thing I like about it is the price, $148, 2 thumbs up on that. Now listen, if you want to get a more premium motherboard for your Ryzen 7800X3D or your 9700X, this will work fine, by the way, for 9700X. You certainly can. Check out our Best Ryzen motherboard, and if we see some deals, I'll list some alternatives down in the video description. For the RAM, we're going to go with the same RAM kit we went for our Ryzen 7600X system because this is fantastic RAM. Remember, the 7800X3D does not care as much about RAM speed, but I will say there's a 6400 CL32 kit of this stuff out there that often gets a little bit cheaper and would be perfectly fine to use. It's essentially the same speed. For the drive, I wanted something with DRAM, so I went with the ADATA SX8200 Pro. I just went 1 terabyte here, but this is certainly an area if you have more money, you can spend a little bit more and get more storage. $60 right now for this drive. I ended up going with the same Montech XR case, which I really loved for the last build, and I went with an 850 watt version of the Be Quiet Pure Power 12M, all told for $1,500. Again, that's before discounts, but assuming that we can get that 7800X3D for the price it had been charging out there for $340, this would be an insanely performative 4K beast out there. And if you wanted to go up even to like the 7900 XTX and RTX 4080 or 4080 Super, this would be a phenomenal build for that as well, especially if those have some super deals. Let's go through some values out there for 1440, 240 Hz gaming and 4K. Let's start off with the AOC CQ27G3Z. I've called this the best budget 1440p 240 Hz gaming monitor out there. Normally at $279, it's an insane value. In fact, $299 is an insane value. But during Prime Day, I expect it could get even a little bit better. It's curved, it's VA, very reminiscent of the Samsung Odyssey G7, which I used to call the best gaming monitor on the planet. Of course, there will be flat IPS 1440p 240 Hz values out there as well. There's a number of them from like HP, from Gigabyte, from MSI, but this was my top pick if they're all the same price. Don't spend too much on it, but the LG Ultra Gear here has better picture quality, slightly better motion handling overall, and during Prime Day could get down to $299. In terms of 4K gaming monitors, the MSI Mag 274 UPF has been a huge champion for value out there. Right now, $399, even before the sales, 27-inch, 4K 144 hertz, great performer. The Gigabyte M27U is also great, as well as the M28U as well. Keep your eye on for these monitors to go below $400. If you're looking for an amazing OLED performer and a super great deal over Prime Day, the LG Ultra Gear from last year that launched initially at $999, 240 Hz, 1440p OLED. So you get that infinite contrast, you get those incredible deep blacks, you get that amazing HDR. And even if you're not looking for 240 Hz, you just play single player titles, the difference between this and an LCD, I just can't even describe it. It's absolutely amazing. Down to $599 right now. It's almost half the price it was when it launched last year, and it could get even cheaper. Remember to check out those links down in the video description for the current best deals right now. And of course, check out our Twitter. I'll leave that link down there, as well as our YouTube community page where we'll be posting deals throughout the sale period. If you got value out of this video, hey, give it a like. It makes a huge difference to the channel. And of course, subscribe, click that bell icon. That way you get notified when we release cool PC content. And with that, we'll catch you on the next one.